Could everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I have a motion to open the public meeting of the Village of Sag Harbor Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for December 19th, 2023?
So move.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Next is to approve the minutes of the November 21st meeting. I had one correction, which I gave to Carrie. Are there any other corrections to
No.
the minutes?
No.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 21st meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Second.
all
Aye.
great, thank you. Now we come to old business. And first up is 20 Lighthouse Lane.
They requested for adjournment.
Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn 20 Lighthouse Lane to the
January.
January,
moved.
wait, January,
So move.
January 16th.
16th meeting.
I'll second Ham's motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who made the
Thank-
motion?
Ham.
And who seconded?
I did.
Great. And again, could I have a motion to adjourn 20 Lighthouse Lane to the January 16th meeting?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up is 369 Madison Street.
The same.
Could I have a motion to adjourn 369 Madison Street to the January 16th meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so the next item on old business is 28 Jefferson Street.
The person on Zoom that's listed as a call-in user number 1. Can you tell me what you're here for?
It's not Damon, is it?
No.
Can we proceed? Okay. Oh, okay. Great,
No,
we're okay. Okay, it's great. So you've all been sworn in before, so you may proceed.
Julie Ward, Kate Frank from the PCC, representing the owner of 20 Jefferson Street. I would say the board is familiar with our application for the third time, or in front of the board, for renovation of structure and a pool in the back. Since the first meeting, the applicant has made a series of significant revisions and concessions to the application. We have removed the outdoor kitchen, the retaining wall, the patio, and most recently, in response to direct comments from this board and the neighbors, we have made a revision to the proposed use warrant. So we are no longer proposing to raise the roof line, we are keeping the roof line. And part of that second story that already exists, we are taking it back, also significantly reducing the variances required, bringing the total cubic foot pyramid relief to just 680. Divided up, so you can see in each elevation where that proposed relief is required. At the last meeting, we left off with the dormer and the pool. In looking at prior determinations and prior applications, we believe that the pool is a modest and appropriate size pool for this lot. It is smaller than other pools that have been granted variances, and the setbacks requested are less. We are almost meeting the setback. Side, and it's about 2.5 on the southern side. I think it's also worth mentioning that in prior determinations, part of the board taking into consideration was the applicant reducing the size of the pool. But often, actually, in all the determinations I reviewed, the pools were way bigger. And even when they made the concession to the size, they still ended up being larger than the applicant's proposed pool of just 10 by 18. So to the extent the board is willing to take that into consideration, I think it's worth noting. Additionally, the applicant is proposing sizable plantings, a 6-foot fence, and the pool equipment is covered and under the structure. So it will be reducing any possible noise or interference to neighboring parcels. We submit to the board that the benefit of this application is without a doubt going to create a desirable change in the character of the neighborhood, and will have a positive effect on the environmental conditions of the neighborhood. And the benefits of an applicant is far outweighed by any possible perceived detriment to the health, safety, or welfare of the community. We're here to answer any questions. Again, this is the third time I'm from the board, so I believe the board is familiar, but we're also happy to walk you through the plans. I'm joined here by Sean Leonard and William Cummings.
So just to get back to the variance of the pyramid, so we've got 124 cubic feet on the Suffolk Street side, and then the other two on the opposite side, which is the west, I think east, I'm sorry, the east side, sorry. We've got two spots where one is 32 and the other is 526. Great. Okay. Does anybody
Did they
have
remove
any
the
questions or comments about
Outdoor kitchen, yes.
the
Yes.
pyramid?
It's a good change.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
Yeah.
it's much more reasonable now. Alex,
Yep.
is Damon out there in space?
Yes, it's a good change.
Great. Ham?
I concur.
Okay, so great. So that seems to solve that issue. So then we come to the swimming pool. So I don't know if Liz, did you have time to go through the decisions? Okay. Did you have some? Oh, I'm sorry.
You could ask her to.
Do you want to just run through what your? I guess you gave us a thing. Okay.
Like highlighted, we was the other decisions that he cited for the applicant, and highlighted the requested for this application. I also gave the so the first one is 28%. This is only 5,232 square feet in lot area. It's a corner lot, and the rear yard lot coverage is proposed to be 37.65%. 36% is permitted, and then there's setback relief requested. The total coverage proposed is 49.68%. The existing total coverage is 52%, but the total coverage is reduced to 49.68% with 25% permitted. The coverage permitted is 20%, and they're asking for 31.8%, which is remaining the same, so they don't technically need variances here, because one is being reduced and they'll remain the same, but they're still, those are the numbers for the 35 Carver Street was another decision that was submitted by the applicant. It's 11,941 square foot lot. It's got 2 front yards. There's no lot coverage is necessary for this particular lot, and it's a triangular shaped lot. 36 Hamilton is a 5,850 square foot lot. They asked for a 12 by 18 foot pool. The lot coverage was 35.65, and that's what was existing, and they were keeping it the same. They did move the pool in response to board comments. 46 Terry Drive was submitted as an example. They asked for 11 by 20 foot pool. They put it in the side yard. It was an 8,900 square foot corner lot with 2 front yards, and it's also an L-shaped lot. So it's a different shape in this particular lot. 68 Madison Street was submitted. They asked for an 8 by 32 foot pool. Total lot coverage was 26%, or 25% was permitted, so it was only 1.5% of relief for the lot coverage. Also, it was a 10,031 square foot lot with 3 front yards. It had Madison Street, Union Street, and Jefferson Street. So that was distinguishable. Very odd shaped lot as well, if you look at the aerial that I provided. 170 Hampton Street, that's a 7,500 square foot lot. They asked for a 14 by 18 foot pool. The lot has 2 front yards. They reduced the pool size from 16 by 32 to 14 by 18. And the total lot coverage proposed was 27.1%. Then finally 5 Vickers Street, 7,500 square foot lot. Property has 3 front yards, and the neighbors are in support.
Right. Right, so in addition to some of those comments, like on that 5 Vickers Street, I know that the reason there was a 5 foot setback from the rear property line was because there was a trade-off. There was a wing of the house established to push the pool, so it wasn't in a front yard, as I recall, so we allowed it to become closer to the property line to get it out of one of the 3 front yards. The one at 68 Madison Street, also what we took into account there was the fact that there were adjacent pools on adjacent properties. So there was a pool on either side of it, and also there were fairly large accessory buildings on either side. There was a shed on one side and a garage on the other, so it was sort of sandwiched between those two to mitigate the sound. I don't know if anybody has any other comments on any of the determinations that were presented.
I think they vary. The proposed pool in relationship to the proposed patio. What is the function there?
Of the proposed patio.
Yes, but could you reduce the patio and move the pool?
Well, we can't move the pool any closer to Suffolk Street because of the sanitary system. Required setback.
I guess my only comment is that although you're reducing the lot coverage, it's a very different use of the lot coverage, meaning it's going from what was just a patio back there to a pool which has a much larger noise factor.
Yeah, I think those other cases, while there are some similarities, they can be differentiated. I said before, my opinion is that this lot, it's built out as it is. I'm not in favor of a pool.
I mean, even if you removed the pool, you're still over like
Right.
45% lot
Right.
coverage or something. So it's a very packed lot.
But they're not increasing the lot coverage.
No, they're
And there's a lot-
decreasing it. All I'm saying is that the goal is 25.
No, I understand, but there's
Yeah.
so many Sag Harbor homes that are way overbuilt.
Yes, yes.
So it seems like the norm has become to, as long as they preserve or reduce, that's.
Maybe that overbuilding should be stopped.
But also you have to-
But they're not increasing the overbuilding, and I don't think it's fair to
Okay.
let so many other folks overbuild and preserve what they did and then make these guys actually reduce. I mean, I think there's a precedent for
Mm.
allowing what's there to be there, and then, reduce if possible, we always encourage that, but don't go higher,
I guess I would be more comfortable if we didn't have three different variances for the pool. Could easily be, you could easily get rid of at least one of them.
Can we just summarize again what the three variances are?
There's a side yard, which is 10 feet, which should be 15. I guess it's considered a rear yard, which is 12.7 feet, which should be 15. And then there's the lot, well, there's not really the lot coverage because it's being reduced, but it's still a variance, correct, Liz? Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Jim, I don't know that
It's
it's
not
not
a
there.
variance, it's not a variance.
It's not a variance.
But it wasn't required to be a variance.
Right,
from the
right.
board Because it's either remaining the same or being reduced.
Right, but we're still way over
Right,
25%,
so the board has perspective.
right?
And Kate, you can't move the pool even a foot or two towards the septic? I mean,
No, it is right up against the setback. We wish we could, but we can't.
Right, there's a 20-foot setback from the septic to the swimming pool.
And the septic's already, that's right, does it already exist or it's
It
going
exists, but
in?
it is being replaced in the exact same location that it was before. They're upgrading it to an IA system, but there's an existing septic in that location.
There's no way to reconfigure the proposed septic in a way that puts it more towards Suffolk a little bit, just a couple feet?
I don't believe so. I think we have explored that option, especially after the last meeting, and it came up with, this is where it has to go, and there wasn't.
They would,
little room.
I think they would have to get variances from the health department to move it closer to the property line because it looks like it's as close as it could get.
If I had
Plus,
to
there's
pick-
not really any other place on the property to put it.
I mean, I'd like to address a couple of things that recently affected this application. So, and similar to some of the other applications where a mitigating factor was a structure on the other side, I would like to remind the board that on the easterly side, for a portion of the pool, there is a garage, and on the other side, there is a driveway. And to the extent that the board may feel that this lot isn't appropriate, I would like to, there's just a small segment of the 2019 determination regarding 5 Vicker Street, which again, has 3 front yards. What the board said in the determination, moreover, the self-stated nature of the variance is mitigated by the fact that the existing residence is pre-existing, non-conforming, and virtually any improvements would require a variance from this board. So it seems that the difficult nature of parcels is taken into consideration by this board when granting variances and not held against the applicant and withholding from
Could you just review also the perimeter screening? Just in terms of, I know on here it says a stockade fence. Is that all the way around?
The stockade fence is along the Gavin side and along the back side.
Okay,
On the Suffolk side, it's tall hedges with a wire fence.
Okay.
Into the hedges and
so the stockade fence is 4 feet high?
6 feet.
6 feet, oh, okay. Well, that is going to mitigate some
And we're
noise.
also proposing 12 feet evergreen,
Mhm.
which is, in other determinations, the board is taking into consideration screenings, and they were of lesser height than what.
So on the Gannon side, how far towards Jefferson Street will the fencing go?
It will go to the point where the garage, where the driveway.
So it's going all along the
all
property,
along the property,
okay,
except for the driveway portion.
right.
But we could go longer if that could help. But all along here, and then tall hedging here, slightly shorter hedging there on the street side.
5 foot out of variance or whatever, you're 5 foot exceeding the side yard setback, about 2.3 on the rear yard.
Yes, is that right?
Yeah.
And on that side where there's only a 10-foot setback, there is a garage there.
Yes, there's.
I don't know.
Portion of the pool, yes.
Right.
Scott, can you just, in the various other examples that Liz cited that you just reviewed again, what's the greatest variance to the side yard setback that's been granted? Is it more than 5 feet?
I don't, side yard, I think 5 is the, that was a rear yard, I think. I don't know, side might be 6 or 7.
On Madison Street,
It
it
was
was 5.1 and 6,
six.
so side yard.
5.16 was the variance,
So it's a variance.
so they were about 9 or 10 feet from the
They were
side.
allowed to be 5.1 feet from the side yard and 6 feet on the other side.
But they
So I'm
also
getting-
were,
I'm just getting, which is what you're saying, so the pools were about 9 or 10 feet from the property line. Therefore, they got a 5 or 6.
No, it was allowed to be 5.1 feet
From
from
the
the
property
property line, so they got almost a 10-foot
10-foot
variance and a
variance.
9-foot variance.
And those are from the recent past?
68 Madison was 2021.
the reason that's that where it was differentiated was because there were 2 buildings on either side, so
Right.
there was, it was sort of screened by the buildings. But we can also say, you know, we can also say that the precedent that was set was a bad one.
But
Yeah.
also in
We're not-
36
No, I think 5 feet is pretty tight.
Tight, yes.
I don't think I was.
And 36 Hamilton, it was 7 feet per side yard and 7 feet per rear yard. I think that the exact setbacks may have, I don't see them on what was handed to me, but I have some of the reference.
I mean, sometimes there were topographical things, because on the 170 Hampton Street, I was thinking 170 Hampton Street, is that the one that goes through? I think so. There was a grade drop, which actually made the pool not visible from the other street.
There was a large tree in there
Right.
area too.
And similar as in here, it will not be visible from the street.
Right. So,
My own feeling is, given the precedence and given the perception, the variances aren't extreme. I would have a hard time not approving it, because I think it would be unfair to deny it. Now, that said, do you think that the owner would have any appetite for narrowing the pool by a foot or 2, to 8 or 9 feet?
Normally, I would say yes, but I don't think it would be fair because applicant didn't come in here asking for like a 12 by 25 foot pool and then saying, keep in mind, like, oh, we'll settle for a 10 by 15.
Yeah.
We understood the limitations of the lot and that's why we proposed a 10 by 18. So normally I would say yes, I don't think it would be fair in this situation.
Anyone from the public?
do any of the board members have any more questions?
No, I don't.
Well, only thing is, it's a small area and there's still a lot going on in the 3 foot from each area.
That's existing, the 3 feet.
I understand, it is existing, but it's still a small plot and you're trying to put everything into this small plot.
Yes, but most of it is the existing. We are reducing the coverage, we are improving the environmental conditions of the property, we are creating a benefit to the community because after taking this.
I think you've done an admirable job, except for the pool.
Is there anyone from the public that wanted to comment on 28 Jefferson Street?
I do.
Is there anyone in the audience here? We'll do you right after the audience in the room. Susan, could you step forward? Great. Could you state your name and address for the record?
Glenn Gannon, 72 Round Pond Lane and 32 Jefferson.
Great.
And
You were here last.
yes.
Yes, okay. You're sworn in.
They've been doing an admirably, the team working on this, reaching out to me, and excellent job. And I really do admire the work and the lowering of the ridge line, and so forth and so on, and overall condition of the house. But the pool is just disturbed me a little bit because it is a pretty straightforward lot. There's no corners. or anything deceptive about it. It's just a tiny lot. And you're trying to shoot for a little pool up, a decent pool. I guess a 10 by 18 is a decent pool. I don't know. My opinion, I don't know if that's I'm not so sure it's doing service to either the owner or the neighborhood or anything, really. It's just my opinion on it. And we'll have to accept what's rendered verdict, rendered voice, but it's a little tight, putting a 10 foot from the property line. We have a pool existing at 9 Suffolk Street. Check on, been there for probably 10, 15 years. The house has been resold possibly once, twice. And it gets used in the summer, and it's not disturbingly noisy because we're a good distance away, but there's lighting these days. People can have portable lighting, they can have lighting put on the house. It attracts music. Music is perfectly portable, battery operated. And it just generates. Neighborhood's getting really tight. We're on tight lots now. We're down 10th of an acre, or a little over 10th of an acre. Have the roof, put the pool in, well, very well, but don't have to. And I'm worried about precedent, it's too. I think they are very important. Setting, it's little 10th of an acre lots. Putting pools with needed variances tightly up against the fences and which will mitigate sound, I'm sure, but it's just a concern. I do love the village dearly, and like to see the little space continue on in the type historic neighborhood.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Susan, I believe you had a comment?
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments. The
Last
first-
meeting, correct?
Yes, I was, and I've been sworn in twice, actually.
Can you just state your name and address for the record?
Susan Mead, and I'm at 5 Suffolk Street. I'm on the rear side of this property.
Thank
First of all, any action that you take tonight, if you do approve, I would appreciate it if it would be subject to the landscape plan and a couple of corrections to the submission. The color coded one is missing 2 variances that are part of this, and I just like the file updated. One is the west elevation, the intrusion on the porch that is the half bath. It's not colored in pink, or colored as a new item, and it should be. I'm still opposed to that. You all signed off on it a couple of meetings ago, but I'm going to take it up with the ARB because it really is kind of wrecking a historic structure on the street side. And then the other comment is, I believe that the new stairs on the Gannon side of the property from the living room require a variance, and that's not noted. That's not highlighted in color. I just like to have the plans that are at the Village Hall correct. They're very, a couple of steps, I think, are in the setback. It says new steps. It's on the proposed east left elevation. It says new steps to match grade, and they're not color coded.
You mean on these colored drawings? Can you
Yes.
see what I'm holding up? Right, these are really just to show the pyramid variance. And the only thing that are really colored red on them or pink are what's in violation of the pyramid.
Okay. It appeared that be consistent. I thought that all new variances should be shown. The large trees that were removed for the septic system, when it was put there, that's the only place that pool could go. And the reason the lot coverage is so high on this piece of property, because I'm familiar with it, is that there is brick all over the place, and that's driven the lot coverage up and allowed the applicant to ask for a pool where the brick was. Other than that, I think they've done I think the pool is putting too much on the property, but they've done a very good job with the pyramid variance and lowering it. So I appreciate that very much.
Anything else?
Ed,
I have
Okay,
a
great.
question, I
Could
was
you-
here the last time.
Yes, could you step forward, please? And could you state your name and address for the record? I know you were here last time.
Theodore German, 36 Jefferson.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I would start to pick up what about the pool, and Glenn mentioned the fact that 9 Suffolk Street has been a problem as far as the pool is concerned. It certainly has been a problem to me, because they shine lights all over the place. I had to call police at 1 o'clock in the morning, a number of nights, because they made noise, but they would stop, police would stop 2 weeks later, it would start again. So I think the pool itself could become a problem. And anyway, nobody between Madison and Suffolk Street, Jefferson Street, they're all small lots, nobody has a pool. So this is sort of, I don't know, it's a bit of too much to put on that little property, it's really overwhelming already in terms of structures. I don't know what would happen also to that. There's the driveway, subsequent to the driveway, there's a covered part of the house that has a brick patio. Is there any possibility that some of that could not be turned into grass? Because again, it'll create, I think it may create noise, people hanging out there. And it wouldn't be, I don't think it would be fair. I also object to what's happening to the porch on Suffolk Street. Now, I don't know if you permit some, for example, you say, okay, they can extend that bathroom and put up sort of a big non-historic type window on the porch. It almost looks like it belongs to a store. What will ARB say about it? I don't know, would they approve that? Or is that a problem with that?
That's something for them to decide.
I just grasp that even the plan did not object to the way the roof height was solid, the raising it was put out almost as a sunshine home type. Instead of a peak like this, now becomes a peak like this. And I don't know, I don't think it's appropriate for a house in the historic district. That's all I'm saying.
Great, thank you.
By the way, all the properties are 1/10 of an acre, maybe 0.11 of an acre. And there's even one lot that's 0.06. So they're all small properties in that part of Jefferson Street. I don't think we need more congestion there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie, is there anyone else?
Nobody on Zoom.
Nobody on Zoom and no one, okay. Anyone else from the public? Okay, do you want?
I just want to address a couple things that were said. The stairs were actually noticed and nailed
Yes.
out, that was
Yes.
redone. And as the board noted, the color correction, the colors on our elevations are correct because it's pyramid, not just added additions. I don't have anything else to add unless the board has additional questions.
Okay, so anyone else have, any- Damon, do you have any questions? Damon?
No questions, but what I struggle with this particular property is that it's overbuilt. Even if you take out the pool and, it's still overbuilt, and that's my issue with this property.
Scott, can I just
Sure.
add one comment to mine? I'm still of the mind that many properties in Sag Harbor are overbuilt and some by a lot. So the fact that they're staying at the same lot coverage or reducing, to me is acceptable and or good. But I do want to add that being reminded that the lot is only 0.12 of an acre, about 1/10 of an acre, is small, and it is small for a pool. So I'm a little torn about, whether to vote in favor of the pool or not, but in the end, I think the fact that they're not increasing lot coverage and there's a lot of precedent for excessive lot coverage just makes it hard for me to say no. And given that there is a precedent for other.
Great. Ham, what do you?
I had indicated, I thought they did an admirable job, but to some extent, the size of the property, less is more, and I have objections to the pool.
Tim?
I have nothing else to say.
I would
Yeah,
take these, there are 6 findings here, each parcel. The 3 largest are, one is 11,941, one's 10,031. And the medium lot is 8943. So this at 5232 is considerably smaller. I think as Mr. Gannon pointed out, his concern, as well as Ms. Mead, it's a small lot to incorporate yet another ingredient. It's just observation that I would concur with what Ham had said. It seems like a lot is happening on the property, and the distinction is made well with setbacks. However, this is a much smaller lot, even at 68 Madison, that parcel is total 11,941, I believe, no, it's 10,031, twice the size of this parcel.
36 Hamilton Street was 5,850, and they were afforded rear and side yard coverage for a pool that was a size 12 by 18. And a side yard of 7.
That's the distance to the property, not the variance, the distance to the property. 7 and 7.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
You're saying that was also a roughly 1/10 of an acre.
yes, 5,850 square feet. 20. The rear is both 7. We are proposing 10 and 5. We are reducing the coverage, we are installing dry wells, we are improving the environmental conditions of the property. We go down the balancing test, I don't have to run through it again, but I think that we fulfill each and every one of them, and the benefit of this small pool, to the owner, again, I submit to the board, outweighs any possible detriment to the health, the safety, and the welfare of the community.
Well, I don't know who was on the board in 2021. That's a joke, because I was. But that precedent we set in 2021 is unfortunate. That's correct.
Precedents don't have to be followed to the end of time.
The one on Hamilton,
Our
I
own
objected
Supreme
to at
Court
that
has
time.
demonstrated that many times.
So, are there any other questions from board members?
No.
Okay, do you want us to, I was gonna close the public hearing, take a vote, and,
I'd like to close the public, I would like to have an idea of kind of where the board members sit with this.
well, I think that we just did that, sort of. I think the house and everything attached to the house, everybody is fine with. It seems like there's still, I'm guessing just sort of on the not favorable side toward the pool.
Seems like you haven't really weighed in.
Well, I think for me, the problem is, I understand the lot coverage thing, but it's not a patio. It's a pool. We're going from sort of a much more benign use to a much more, extreme use. The swimming pools are noisy. So, and even if you take out the pool, we're still way over in terms of lot coverage. I mean, it's just a lot of, that's the only comment that I had. So I'm having difficulty with the swimming pool also. So Damon, I think you would agree?
Oh, definitely. I definitely agree.
It sounds to me like you've got 1, 2, 3 firm no's and 3 kind of on the fences.
So,
Does that sound right?
Well, there's 5 votes,
Right,
not 6.
right.
He's a.
An alternate.
So
Damon, that's an
if
alternate.
the board had voted tonight, he wouldn't be voting.
So it looks like we would approve everything for the house and at the pool, I guess they could withdraw the pool and we'd do the house and you could come back to the pool. We can do lots of different things.
They'd have to amend their application and submit a survey about the pool to have it approved.
so just to be clear, if there was a vote.
The vote would be a straw vote, like it always is, and you directly to write a decision.
And then, like, board member Matheson, you had mentioned the overall number of the variances for being up to I know how.
That was the
Oh, it's just me.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
so, because it was it's
Oh, yeah.
side yard plus, I know that it's not actually a variance for the lot coverage,
Yeah,
but
it
it's,
Yeah,
but
that
it
is, you know,
does.
existing.
Right,
Like,
it's an
if
existing
come in
lot
here,
coverage.
The IE system wouldn't be
Right.
upgraded, brick wouldn't be here
Right.
now, the pool wouldn't
right.
happen, but also the house.
Well,
would be destroyed.
If you're doing the project to the house, the IA system is going to have to be installed anyway. So the pool doesn't really affect that.
It's overall project.
Right.
The purpose of purchasing the house and enjoyment of,
Right.
And I know applicant is looking to wrap this up and not drive them for months and months, and if we were to reduce the size of the pool by reducing by bringing the setback to the southerly property line to 15 feet, and therefore reducing that variance.
Or the.
Yeah, eliminating that variance so that only side front would be required. Would that be something that the board is going to approve?
So I'm sorry, so the side yard setback would
Would
be,
remain the same, but the rear yard setback of 12.7, you would bring that to 15 and eliminate an entire variance.
1 technical variance.
2. Front
Yeah.
and side. That would be a significant, I mean, to bring it from 18 to 15 something, that is a significant reduction.
I'm against the pool. I'm against the pool.
Right,
I'm against the pool no matter what size it is,
right.
or granting variances for it. If it can be built by right. fine.
concur.
Scott, are you against or?
I mean, that makes it a little bit more palatable, but, I'm sort of, I don't know how you.
The smallest pool that you referenced is about the width of a commercial sidewalk. It's about 8 feet. A pool by definition is 25 square feet, 18 inches deep. 20 feet, well, total is 5 by 5, basically a hot tub. But I do agree with the chairman, if it were reduced, that makes this more palatable.
Scott?
No, I mean, it makes it much more palatable if we pull out one of the variances for it.
Liz,
Yes.
I know this is a completely unorthodox thing to say, but is there any precedent for saying, let's just say for the moment, we were to agree to a pool is there any way you could put a condition in that says that if in the eventuality somehow or another, the septic is slightly more towards Suffolk Street than anticipated, that they would agree in a permanent situation like that to move the pool a foot or two over?
No, I mean, you can,
Have to be kind of cut and dry, right?
I mean, you can condition, you can deny, that would be a denial of the pool where it's proposed,
Okay.
right? That's what you'd be doing. You'd be conditioning it on it moving somewhere else, but you don't know where. And then what relief, you can grant that because you didn't notice relief.
But I just know, I just put in a new IA system in the house over on Shelter Island. And it's not exactly where we put it on the survey, but it's still approved, so on, so. I'm just trying to be creative here.
If you wanted to expedite this, what you could do, and you're thinking about the pool, is I would withdraw the pool, we can approve everything else, and then all you have to do is come back for a swimming pool. Then you can start moving forward with the house project, but that, it's really up to you, but we do need to do something.
The board's not willing to approve something about it.
Well, wouldn't we have to have Liz, wouldn't we need the survey and everything in order to, yeah.
Yeah. To have a survey attached to your decision, so that the department knows what the final approval is.
If you withdraw, if they withdraw the pool, they still have to get another survey too. Okay, so that doesn't really save you any time now. Okay, so, I mean, the decision is yours. We can adjourn it or we'll adjourn. Okay.
Can we close the public hearing?
Yes, we could close. Do you want written, to allow written documents to be, well, we would need
You
written
want to see the
documents,
survey.
right?
So-
Can you not close the public hearing, please? If you're gonna make changes? I'm sorry.
Because we're gonna have to, if you're gonna change the pool, we're gonna have to re-examine the pool. So, okay, great. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Could I have a motion to adjourn 28 Jefferson Street to the January, I'm sorry, I forgot what it's called. The January 16th meeting.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Okay, up next is 12 Glover Street.
So we're exactly.
Great, thank you.
I think they're gonna make it smaller.
Do a dance.
Well, these three guys said that.
Yes, could you just state your name and address for the record? I know you were sworn in at the last meeting.
Anthony Rubin, 68 Union Street.
Great.
Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm gonna go through the changes that we've made to the variances that we're requesting first. And then I'm going to go through some of the other concerns that came up from this board and the neighbors representative as well. All of which we have also addressed, save for one, and I'll get to explain to you why we haven't addressed that one issue yet. Okay, so at any rate, we've got these eight variances we were originally had. Variance one was a 0.4 setback relief from the north side of the property. We've eliminated that altogether. Number two was a 9.6 foot relief for the second floor side yard. we basically reversed that. We're now only asking for 0.5 relief for that second floor setback. And the answer to the question, why didn't we just go make that 0? It had to do with where certain existing walls are lining up and things like that. We just couldn't move it over that extra 6 inches. Number 3 was the proposed sky plane intrusion of, we have requested 1,774 cubic feet. We have reduced that to 944 cubic feet. So that's almost 50% less than what we originally requested. We did that primarily by shifting the mass of the proposed addition over to the south, which is the board had recommended. Number 4 was the proposed side yard relief for the back steps. That's been eliminated completely as the addition sort of shifted over a little bit. The steps shifted over too, so they're no longer in the violating the side yard there. Number 5 is the proposed building coverage of 31%, 1,526 square feet. That is the only variance requested that we are not reducing. So that is depending on what formula we use, that's either 1.8% increase from existing or a 6% increase from the existing building coverage, or it likes to use the higher amount, so it's called 6%. Number 6 is the proposed total lot coverage, where we had been requesting 32.7%. That has now been reduced slightly to 32.4%. But I do note that is less than the existing lot coverage, which is 33%. And I think the reason why we have to apply for a variance for this one specifically is because that additional lot coverage is coming through increase in building coverage, not an exchange of non-building lot coverage. Number 7 was the proposed side yard, total side yard relief as opposed to single side yard relief. That we have eliminated completely. The second is, the 8th one is the expansion. This is the 300-6.B. That has been reduced slightly from 23.9% to 23.4%. As this board knows, this is a very new kind of way of noticing this law. So there's not really a whole lot of precedence to judge this by, but just by my own projects that have already passed this board. One was 44.6% and another was 34.7%. So this is substantially less than that. So to reiterate here, we've completely eliminated 3 of the variances we've requested. 2 of them have been substantially reduced, one of which to the point I think arguably de minimis. And then 1 has remained the same and 2 are kind of, they haven't really changed much, but they were both, 1 is a reduction from the existing and the other is something that there's not a whole lot of precedence for to begin with. This is a new adjustments to the rule. Okay, now there were a bunch of other concerns that came up with the board and the neighbors. So I want to go through these first. And I mentioned before there was one that we have not addressed yet, and I want to reference that specifically. So just get it out of the way first. The reason is that drawings, this little bit of roof line is drawn incorrectly. The reason why it's drawn incorrectly is I had no way to actually, because it's right, that part of the building is right on the property line, I had no way to actually physically see that without going trespassing on the neighbor's property. So I had to kind of guess, just based, I could measure the roof slope of here. Because there was a sloped roof in that room. This room just has a flat ceiling, so I kind of just assumed, okay, it's probably just the reverse of that. It's not, it actually pitches the other direction. Once again, something I could not pick up from my vantage point on the property. Just this evening, the neighbor's representative provided me with a photograph of that elevation from the neighbor's property. So I am very happy to make this correction, as part of the condition for approval, and it does not change the amount of variance that we're requesting at all. Okay, a few other things here that were concerns. A big one, and this was a very justifiable concern, was, how are we gonna, even though technically it doesn't need any variances, it is a concern, how do we dig out this basement, being right on the property line? The solution here is, or very close to the property line. The solution here is a Dutch shelf, so we're gonna be the only part of this excavation is the closest part of what we're excavating will be 10 feet away from the property line. For the full basement, the rest will just stay the same as it is. The builder we're working with, K&S Mott, is, as you folks know, has a lot of experience with doing these kind of foundations that are very close to the neighbor's property line. In fact, we did a property a few years ago, 90 Madison Street, exactly the same issue where we did Dutch shelf. We didn't actually lift the house, we just excavated everything by hand, removed the walls section by section and replaced them. It's a little bit more of an expensive way to do it than lifting it, but when you don't have a choice, that's kind of what you have to do. And I did speak to him, we're gonna do exactly the same method here. The cribbing can be in the center of the house, or on the driveway house, it doesn't have to intrude on the 16 Wilbur Street side of the house. And once again, it can be done without lifting the house, just camping. Okay, a few other things here. Okay, septic system. So septic system question, we have not yet gone before the Suffolk County Health Department for approval yet. That's because procedurally, we have to get the area variance first before we can even go to them. And secondly, just on a practical level, if there are gonna be big changes to the footprint of the house, it doesn't make sense to kind of go to the health department. But I do want to show that we do have a very substantial area here where the septic system can go. We're not requesting a swimming pool. And when the neighbor put their swimming pool in, God bless them for getting the approval to do this, but they got the approval to put the and the green stamp to put their septic system in the driveway, which is unusual, but they, that was good. We don't need to go through that length though, because we're not doing a swimming pool. We've got this area here where the septic system can go. Another thing while I'm up here, there's a question about the AC equipment location. There's actually a very logical spot for it here, right in this corner. It'll actually be further away from the property line than the neighbor's air conditioning units. So it's and it's a conforming location. What else we've got here?
Could you add that to your plan?
It
Do the
is
survey.
indicated on the plan. I mean,
It's not on the survey.
Okay, I can
It's
add
not.
that to the
Okay,
survey.
okay.
I think there was a question about whether this hardship was created, was self-created or not. I think this one kind of confused me because in the preceding hearing for 28 Union Street, it was established that an area variance can't only use variances can be hardships. And at any rate, it's a moot point because we haven't done any work here at all. We're going through the process. And we'll be
Well, it wouldn't be hardship. It would be whether or not it was a self-created.
self-created,
Right,
But
right.
it's not
But it's
self-created
not,
because we haven't done any work here, right?
but it's also
We're
not,
going
a-
through the- going through the process.
that in itself isn't a determining factor for our decision-making.
Okay, and one concern the neighbor had was just privacy here. Two things here. One is just sort of the depth of the addition here. This is the back wall of her house, and this is not, I don't have the precise dimensions for the neighbor's house and relative to ours, but just kind of looking at the surveys of the two properties and looking at the satellite view. It's pretty clear that what we're doing is almost going to exactly align with the back wall of her house. Maybe 1 foot past, maybe 1 foot shy, but somewhere within that limit. So that, that's where that is. Here's your swimming pool here, which is, happily kind of blocked by our garage. Our shed's over here, our driveway's completely on the other side here. Just a question about windows. We do have 2 windows in this gable facing out back. I think there was concern about the windows on the dormer that we're proposing here on the driveway side. What these are just 2 small, this window is existing. These windows are all existing. we are proposing 2 small windows in this dormer. They have a sill height of about 5 feet. They're really just for light and air. They're not like something you can look out of. I mean, I would say if this is a huge concern for the neighbor, we could probably eliminate them, but I mean, the dormer looks kind of odd without some kind of windows to break it up. So I think that was all of the major issues that were discussed. So I did add the elevations properly on the drawing here.
Yes, I noticed it. Great, thank you.
So that's about it. If I apologize if I missed anything, and if you have any questions, let me know.
No, thank you for your concise review. Do any of the board members have questions?
No, I would just point out that the pyramid variance request has been reduced by half, but the existing pyramid still leaves the total at 279 cubic feet. So one of the problems with the volume of the house in terms of how it relates to the neighbors is that there's, over 7,500 cubic feet existing in violation of the pyramid.
Anyone else with any questions or comments before I open it up to the public?
Tim's concern is my concern.
Right.
I'm pretty comfortable with the rest of it.
Noticed that also. Sure, could you just state your name and address for the,
45 Division Street for the applicant.
great.
Just to address the concern, Mr. Dwyer, we're trying to impose cafe for zoning on a lot that is just over a tenth of an acre. All of these lots in the village are pre-existing, non-conforming as to size, particularly with this lot, and this lot is less than half quarter of what it's supposed to be pursuant to several of the folks. We're trying to impose a pyramid law that was invented long after this house was built, so the fact that it's pre-existing non-conforming, as we said, we're trying to impose half-acre zoning on a lot that's how long?
60
some odd feet.
51 feet.
Which is about half of what's supposed to be
I
required.
understand that.
100, so
Some of us are of the opinion that these small houses should not be made larger, period. That we're ruining the sense of history of the village, where there was a combination of large houses and small houses. And now we have people buying small houses that have 2 bedrooms, salt boxes and whatever, and they want to put a whole lot.
this is not going.
No, I know, but I'm making a point in general. So you take these one case at a time and you really try to figure out, why does this house need to get bigger?
Understood, but I really wish to go into at some point with addressing the fact that these are all pre-existing non-conforming, because you wouldn't have half of these in front of you if we were dealing with a zoning code that actually is applicable to lots of this size and would actually work for a lot this size. There is no plausible addition to this house that is not going to require some type of pyramid relief from this board, given the lot width.
Right. But it's possible that the answer is don't make these houses bigger.
The
That's
answer-
not the answer that you want, but some people think that.
That may be your opinion.
At least one person thinks that.
Great, thank you. Anything else?
But
for
we
the
have
moment?
made, and I will just say that we have made substantial changes to the project.
Yes.
And the variances there we are now requesting are no more than 6 inches on the side yard. We're asking for pyramid relief of 944 cubic feet, which is well within what the board has normally approved in these circumstances. The building coverage, we're actually only asking for a 90 square foot increase there, and that is related, as I believe Anthony spoke to at the last meeting, about the existing shed on the property, the fact that that's the only reason that number is being pushed up. And the other variances, as we said, have been eliminated and or we're not required to begin with.
No, and we greatly appreciate the redesign.
And another thing I would add about the pyramid, I understand Tim's point here, but it is kind of a little bit of a new way of kind of looking at these properties based on the, at least in my experience doing these presentations for almost 20 years now, looking at the existing and it's always been sort of what I've always sort of instructed my clients is if you're under 1,000 cubic feet, you're usually okay. 1,000 to 2,000 starts to become more case by case, and over 2,000, it's unless you've got a serious FEMA issue or something like that, it's probably not.
But those are cases where there's no existing pyramid.
No, oh, no, 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 I mean,
Well,
I can.
I've been on this
go through a
board
lot
for
where
several
where
years
there's-
myself.
There's substantial, you know,
Okay,
substantial
all right.
pre-existing and.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Thanks.
think this one, though, is on the high side for a total pyramid violation. But let me open it up to the public and see if there are any,
One other-
wait, yeah,
Before you turn it over to the
Yeah.
public, we have been in contact with the neighbor, and the neighbors representing both, attorney representing both neighbors, I'm sorry. And we are having conversations with them about whatever remedies that we can work into the project in addition to the changes that we've already made
great,
to try to resolve.
great, thank you. So is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak? Yes. Could you just state your name and address for the record?
Sure. Katie Frank from 350 Street,
Great, thank you.
representing the owners of 16 Glover and 8 Glover. Ms. Carlotto did send us the plans this morning. We appreciate that. We've started to review them. But the owner of 16 Glover Street is traveling today, so we would appreciate the time to review the revisions with the client. Additionally, as Rob pointed out, we spoke prior to the meeting regarding the western elevation. And before the board votes on this, I do think that proper elevation should be submitted because it is a substantial different roof line, so you're not actually comparing what is existing to what is being proposed. So 2 sections of that roof line is inaccurate. I just wanted to note that. It looks like that was a great effort to address concerns. It looks good, but again, we would like the time to review it with the applicant. She's traveling today and unfortunately.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public? Is there anyone, Carrie, is there anyone out in Zoom?
Nobody's in Zoom world.
Okay, so the change in roof line could affect the the existing pyramid violation,
You
correct?
know, just looking at it for the first time, and if anything, it will actually reduce the pyramid, because I have that ridge pushed over a little bit further
Right,
than that is in reality. It will both reduce the existing violation, which is a concern, and the proposed, because I can start that new pitch there a little bit further back than it is now. So if anything, there'll be a modest reduction in both of those, both the existing and proposed.
well, I guess it would be good to know that. I don't know what other board members think. Sal?
One thing I'd just like to know, and thank you, because it looks like you've done a lot to reduce the number of variances and the severity of some of them and so on. So that's great, and we appreciate that. On this issue of the pyramid intrusion, have you also made efforts to reduce that? As I know you went 50% down, but is there possibilities of going further, given the very large existing violation?
It's, you know, it would be shifting the house further over to the other side, and then you suddenly start having pyramid issues on the other side of the property. So.
Uh,
Well, whatever we do, I think we probably need to adjourn anyway, because we want to give the public more time to review.
Yeah, I don't know. Dale, do
No,
you
I was
have
gonna
something?
say, Anthony, you've had a history of adding on to these very long, narrow structures. And you've done an excellent job at that. This parcel happens to be a challenge just because of by dint of being 0.4 feet from the lot line. And I think you've done a good job in trying to mitigate the constraints. So for that, I'd say good job.
I concur. He's compromised and I'm happy with what you've done.
Damon, do you have any comments?
No, it's, basically same here, Anthony is always, a good steward of the village and does a great job with, all these houses that are challenged and doing modest additions. So it looks great so far.
Tim, do you have any more?
No, nothing else.
Last thing
Okay.
to comment, Anthony, on this sidebar, you can in fact put your sanitary system in a driveway without complexity. Board of Health has allowed Fuji Clean to be put in the cast iron system if they opt to, if you would like to put it in your driveway, that discourages cutting down trees. So consider.
The issue that I found with doing that is it's not so much the getting the people to put it in the driveway, and this is why I was surprised, so. Well, it's going off on a tangent here, but you know, the issue is just the proximity of the system to the neighboring foundations. Usually they want you to be 5 feet off of each neighbor, and if both those neighbors are, you know, one neighbor's on the property line, you're only 15, 10 feet away from the property line. Once you get 5 feet and 5 feet, you just don't have enough width there for the septic system. So, and I've encountered this before, most recently on 110. You know, we were at the point where just to get, and we weren't even trying to get it into the driveway, just to get it, to get the neighbor, the watch gate factory, which was right on the property line. We had to get a covenant from them, we had to, waterproof their side of the foundation, and it took 7 months to get the health department approval. So there are issues with the health, department that, even with that ability to put stuff under the driveway, it still can be problematic. But one other thing, and this is probably more in a deeper review, but the property is fully cleared, so at least we won't have any issues with having to take trees down.
So I think that
I don't know if that's good news or bad news.
I think that we'll adjourn so that the neighbors have a chance to review the proposal. If there is anything that you can think of in terms of ways to reduce the pyramid, I think that would be the violation. I don't know if you can examine the plate heights or any of the roof slopes or any of those issues.
I'm gonna focus on that, what I'm gonna focus on is that elevation facing 16 Glover Street. And first of all, making sure it's drawn correctly, and secondly, if in doing that, there's some way of getting a little bit more production of that.
But even at 944 cubic feet, it's still a significant pyramid violation for an addition. So I don't know, any other comments by the board? Anything else? Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn 12 Glover Street to the January 16th meeting?
We'll move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you, thank you. Next, we have 41 Redwood Road, 26 Cove Road. Great. Could you just state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
Pursuant to the board's last round of comments, I'm going to turn it over to Craig Orm, who's the architect, to go over those changes with the board.
Great.
Right. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is Craig Arm. I couldn't really hear. Did Tiffany do the introduction? Little
Yes.
volume issue. Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that.
Could you
Turn it over
just,
to you to go over the changes that were made.
could you just state your name and address for the record? I believe you were sworn in at a previous meeting, yes or no?
I was, yes.
Okay, could you just state your name and address?
Yes. Sure. Craig Arm, West Hampton Beach, New York. Here on behalf of Peter Mangiamelli for 41 Redwood. Essentially, the drawings and the submissions, I don't know if I have the ability to share screen with you. Primarily, we did some updates, some tightening, and did some additional information that the board had asked for at the last meeting. On the survey, we indicated the 65-foot setback line from the DEC. We were showing the sanitary system and the drainage. I believe it was last meeting that we had there were some concerns, and we had to revise the driveway to make sure it was the proper distance away for the parking, away from the property line. So there were some updates and some clarity to that. And then just showed some of the actual proposed grading around that we won't be requiring any fill. And we are cutting down the grade a little bit on the side, but there's no substantial grading, a little bit of cut and relocation, but no fill will be added. For the main house itself, we did reduce the square footage. Last time our GFA was at 2919. We tightened things up a few inches here and there to now have a proposed GFA of 2771. And I did want to point out that of that 2771, the house itself is really 2678, and the other 93 is actually mechanical space. So even though 2771 to some people may seem large or small, depending, it's really even smaller than that, being at the really 2678 of living space if you didn't include the mechanical. On the plans as well, on each of the pages, we notated what the living space was, what the mechanical space was for the total GFA. Additionally, for each floor, we notated what was conforming, what was non-conforming of the building footprint. So some of these numbers will not total with the GFA because some of them, if they're porches and stairs, things like that, they don't count towards GFA, but they are part of a footprint. So you could see that we are, we're still conforming by more than 50% on each floor, but that was something that we just wanted to make sure was clarified, because I know that was one of the comments that came up, sort of a breakdown of how much of each floor was conforming versus non-conforming. Essentially, it's the same thing for the second floor, and then also then for the roof terrace, where there's the breakout of what's conforming and what's non-conforming. For the let me start with the pyramid encroachment. For the pyramid encroachment, following the board's recommendation, we did break out each of the areas, A, B, C, D, E, and F, and list the related cubic footage alongside. And as mentioned, since it is on a curved bend in the road with the lot line, it's not so straight and cut and dry without a 3D model, but this enables you to see more accurately where the cubic footage for the pyramid variance is required. We did do some updates for the average setback, just for illustration, that even though we do have a few points that are 16.7, 17.2, I wanted to illustrate that we do have an average setback of 21.06. So obviously still requiring a variance, but also just to illustrate that we're not just the shortest distance and a big rectangular box. We did try to step the house in and out, to obviously break the mass, but also to achieve as much setback as we could at any given point. Let's see, for the house itself and the reductions, it was really a tightening up of things. We lost, like I said, 6 inches here, 6 inches there. And ultimately what we did is we maintained the setback that the DEC has approved for our house. So in doing that and the small reductions, that's why we were able to reduce our variances the way we were, just because of where we maintained the house positioning and where we could tighten things up. So I think that's overall the big explanation through everything. Oh, actually, there was one other comment too last time in relationship to on the plans, making sure that we showed the pyramid variances, the pyramid restriction lines on the elevation. So they can't be drawn 100% accurate, but what I decided to do is take some of the closest points on each side and use that as the pyramid that was drawn for that side. So if on the right-hand side, the closest was 17.2, that's the pyramid line that I took as the house steps in and out. So one side is the 16.6, one 17.2, and then the pyramid's reflected based on that. And that's just carried through for each of the sides based on those setbacks, which is a requirement for the building permit. So that was really the main updates. I'm not sure if there's any additional questions or anything else that Tiffany wanted to bring up. But essentially, there's some modest reductions and really some clarification, some updates, and just so everybody could, I think, fully understand what the areas were, what was in violation, what was not in violation, or requests for the variances.
Great, thank you. Do you have anything to add, Tiffany?
The only thing I have to add at this point is that we are in conversations with neighbor who is on, I believe it's the northern side, is that correct? The north side of the property. But we are having conversations with them to try to figure out a way to resolve their objections to the project when they're here to that. And I think that's about it for right now. Support any.
It would be east, south or east, maybe?
Oh,
Oh, okay, so that's sort of south,
Southish.
not the house that's in the water.
right? Great.
So we're in conversations with them.
Do any of the board members have some questions?
No, I have no new ones
No new one.
from the last time.
Alex, do you have any questions at the moment?
Could you just comment on one of the variance requests, number 2, is the rear yard setback 15 feet or 30 required? Can you just remind me what you've done to try and mitigate that?
So that's actually the front yard setback, right? The rear yard setback. The rear yard is actually the front yard setback. It's like 16.6.
So it says rear yard here, maybe it's.
Right, it's rear.
It's on the
yard,
water,
it's
so
reverse,
the-
because it's a waterfront
Oh,
lot,
okay, okay.
so it's actually your street front side. And the reason why the house is pushed so far forward, and I think we're gonna run into that problem no matter. If you were to break out the sides of that house, you're still gonna have a front yard setback issue because it's the depth of the lot and the DEC setback is 65 feet. We're just meeting the 65 feet and we received a variance from the same normal setback 75 feet.
So the closest point is 16.6 feet, correct? And
Correct,
that's to a porch.
Exactly.
correct.
It was previously 15 something.
Was 15.
Correct.
So we've increased that slightly.
Damon, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, great. I guess what we'll do now is we'll open it up to the public. So is there anyone in the room here that would like to speak? Please come forward. And just state your name and address for the record.
David Harvey, 21 Cove Road.
Great, thank you. And you were here last time?
Yes.
Great.
We looked over the plans a couple times and we don't see a substantial effort in changing the design or size of this house. There were a lot of comments last month about volume, the amount of relief from the road. I'm also an architect, so I'm very concerned about this house setting an enormous precedent being so much further or closer to the road than any other house in it. I see now that they have a DEC line, but I would question, did they ask for that line of 65? I believe they could have asked for that line to be closer to the water, which would give them a lot more room out front for drainage and septic. So I also don't see a really comprehensive site plan or survey addressing a lot of those issues. So I realize that now to cut down the south side of the property, but the septic system seems to be very shallow. The drainage, you know, without engineering it, pretty substantial flat roof doesn't look like it's going to be. And if there's any retaining walls ever needed or discovered to be needed later, they really don't have the room when the building's this close to the river. Those are, I think, major concerns at this point.
Great, thank you. Are there, I don't see anything on the survey for dry wells for roof runoff. Is there any? Is there some plan for that? We do see the septic system and we see a catch basin, but that's. for the
Underneath the driveway, Delandro Engineering had proposed a series of dry wells for the house runoff, for the roof runoff, the containment. If you can see my screen underneath the proposed driveway.
One comment I'd like to add is when our reviews
Is that
the
this?
septic drawings submitted, it was designed for the first floor elevation to be at 11. And it looks like they've now set the first floor elevation at 8. So that's why I'm questioning the height of the septic system and possibly the making walls. A lot of times at this stage, you can really look things up, I really understand that. Really tight, comprehensive site plan. Some of those things documented on the plan with the proper setbacks.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Gregory Lukemeyer on Zoom.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Could you
Hi.
state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Gregory Lukemeyer, 141 Redwood Road.
And you spoke at the last meeting, correct?
Yes, I did.
Great.
I want to take a step back and talk just briefly about Redwood, which is basically a park with houses in it. There's significant landscaping, major trees, and houses hopefully sit comfortably within the landscape and within the topography that's there. Houses are set back. There's a sense of spaciousness and really comfort as you drive around the neighborhood. This house is a pretty aggressive house on this corner. And I don't really see any space for landscaping, significant landscaping. I also see from a landscaping standpoint, if you look at the first floor plan, there's a living room and there are step downs to the outside. And the way this plan is drawn, there are no decks, there are no patios. But what's the sense of having these big sliding glass doors? You can see it in this plan where it steps down to grade and there's nothing there. So really, this is the lot coverage is going to be a little bit more than this implies. I think the issues of the pyramid are probably not as material as just the fact that 50% of this house needs a variance for its setbacks. And while we could debate the fact that this property should not be developed at all and should remain an open space or have a little tiny cottage on it, the geometry of this box, despite the fact that it has stair steps in it, is still just a box. I don't think it reflects the character, but that's really an architecture review board issue. This simply is a site planning issue. And frankly, I think the house is too big for its site. Yes, the floor area ratio may be within its rights, but just from a sense of scale and quality, this is a busy corner, and it's one that sort of introduces the island to people as it comes in, especially as you pass the old little sales office on your left as you come in. This is going to really loom over that, which is really unfortunate. So, frankly, the bottom line is, and many of my neighbors have said the same thing, this is too big for its site. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else?
I don't see
Yeah.
anybody else.
You may please come forward. Could you just state your name and address for
the record? I spoke last time.
yes, and just your address for the record.
132 North Main Street.
Great, thank you.
I did speak to Tiffany today, and the plan is to speak again and hopefully come to some sort of compromise on the size of the house. I would just point out that this would appear to be a big house in this lot. It couldn't need any relief. But when you're closing out, the maximum size GFA for this property is 2,900 square feet, and the house is essentially 2,800 square feet. 50% of it is in the setback. So it just appears as though, and my comment last time was, I said, hopefully this is not a situation where the house gets a little bit smaller each time, and after 3 or 4 times, we say, hey, look, we've really listened to all the comments, and now we're at 2,600 square feet. Like, yeah, this just seems to be way too big a house for this particular property. It would look big on that property if it needed no relief, but of course, it needs wetland relief, but it needs some significant relief from the court. And I think you have to ask yourself, where would you go from here if you were to approve this? Like, so if somebody can come in and say, yes, I need 50% front yard setback relief, 50% of the house is in the front yard setback. I need and I need all these pyramid reliefs. That would transform the entire neighborhood of the village, right? Where would you might as well just rewrite the zoning code at that point. We do look forward to speaking to the applicant's attorney and the board for the time.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else? Great. Thank you. Could you state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Drew Harvey, 21 Cove Road.
You spoke at the last meeting, right?
Yeah, I'll keep it very short because I did speak last time. And we all heard the board's comments, which were very good comments. The main point was start at the minimum and work up from there on this particular property. The architect honestly summed it up. They made marginal changes to the building when they came back in front of the board. So if there's no effort to make the adjustments that the board is asking for, then it is possible that the applicant is unwilling to work with the village. The house is out of scale for Redwood, it's out of scale for the village. You have to be willing to work within the village and the village boards if you want to get anything built and approved. It's very simple. Go back to square one, come up with a better plan, redesign it, think about the character of the neighborhood, and then we can talk about the approval. This plan is not that. That's it.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else? And on Zoom?
Yes.
And I'd rather just say this.
Great. Anyone on Zoom?
Nope.
Carrie? No? Any more questions or comments from the board?
Well, my feeling about this is a couple of things. First of all, because it's a new undeveloped lot, and it's a new house, I feel like this is a chance for the board to be a little bit more strict about trying to enforce our code, as opposed to dealing with an existing structure in the village. Secondly, you know, in terms of the lot coverage, I think they're doing a pretty modest job, and that's helpful. But it does seem that the asking for substantial setbacks, has been pointed out by various members of the public, that are kind of disturbing in terms of the potential for precedent setting. So I would just love to see the owner think anew about how to develop this property and see if they can't, you know, there's room to increase the lot coverage, but maybe to reduce the overall mass and size of this house, so it's more fitting with the rest of the neighborhood and doesn't have such kind of extreme front lot coverage setback violations. I just think the violations are more than this board should be asked to accept.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? have
Yeah, I concur with that.
I agree. The house is too large for the size of the plot, and the only way you can do it is to change. If you look at the house next door, it's a small home that was built many years ago. So I think you're gonna have to make adjustments based on the size, and it's gonna be challenging.
Val, do you have any?
I would just comment that the entire front of the house doesn't conform and the sides don't conform. It's not a portion of the building, it's the entire front. It's the entire right side and left side that don't meet the setback. Typically, a variance request might be for a portion of the structure, but this is the entire length of it as it faces the road. And there's no mitigating factor in terms of curb. Typically, there might be some grass, which there is towards the driveway. But as you narrow the bend, there's pavement right to the lot line. And that exacerbates that setback issue from 17 feet in particular. So it does set a precedent, as Mr. Tarbett had mentioned, in terms of potential new development, and it's not a good precedent.
Great, thank you. One of the questions was brought up by one of the speakers was about the on the water side, which is the front side, all of the sliding doors, realistically just stepping out to grade. I guess that's what's proposed. There's nothing there. Because that would be a lot coverage. Right, so you're just stepping right.
Step right into the grass.
Right. Okay. I see that you brought the foundation wall up so that the grade is against the wall, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I don't know, Tiffany, do you have anything else you wanna?
I don't have any other comments right now. If anyone has any questions.
Right. I guess, I mean, just based on comments, the board still is feeling that this is overbuilt on this property, so. I don't know if you want us to adjourn it for you guys to go back and rethink. Okay,
Appreciate that.
great. So no other comments or questions? Anybody? Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn 41 Redwood and 26 Cove Road to the January 16th meeting? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
What? Yes, yes. Okay, now we are on to new business. And first up is 80 High Street. Great. Could you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Dennis Boyle, 80 High Street, South Carolina.
Great. Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Great. And are you going to have another speaker?
This is Steve
I'm
Boyle.
here if you like, I'll say swear.
Okay, could you state-
I'm from 40 Atlantic Avenue, Mauritius.
Great.
The architectural firm.
Okay, great. Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Great. Thank you very much. Great. So you may proceed.
So we are asking for obviously variance for, we had a pre-existing deck in the rear of our house and so we agreed with that. It's also that it's alongside the house, which doesn't get very much wind out or anything else. Myself and my wife are in our 70s, so yeah, that was there's approximately 40 years old, 30 years, 40 years old, something. And the deck codes had they were in disrepair. The entire deck was in disrepair, so we actually lived there in the back part on the longer rectangle on the south side when we first met. And so the house was owned by my brother, and he had these narrow deck on the side of the house, and the decks were not connected. So all of our lives, we wanted to connect the decks, and we didn't. In economics, whatever it might be, we lived with that deck for all those years, and then we just decided that we would like, first of all, we have to upgrade the deck. And so we did, we upgraded it to a mahogany deck and repaired that deck. And then but the extension on the deck is where we would connect the deck. And the purpose of that would be to be able to bring out a table or something like that and, get the benefit of some airflow out away from that smaller section in the house there. Also, coming out of the house, it's, safety factor. Coming out the door, straight on to out to that area without any impediment for walking and things like that. So that is the 86 square feet. That is the aside from that 86 square feet, that is the footprint of what the deck was, and the deck including the step. Now I have on here added 2 steps down from it to access into the backyard. You'll also see a generator at the end of that deck. That's a generator we purchased right now. It's just sitting out in the yard. It's not hooked up or anything else. It's just purchased. So it's out further out in the yard near the shed. So we would be bringing that back closer to the corner of the deck and conform to the setbacks. The shed that you see in the corner of the yard, southeast corner, initially, we started to go for a variance for the shed. But there was an additional shed onto that. The thought process on that was, oh, well, that shed that's there that you see on the survey, that was actually destroyed by an accident. That a tree limb fell on it, and destroyed the shed. I said, well, we would rebuild it one time, so when we were speaking to the building inspector, he was saying, well, you could take that shed and then if you wanted it to be bigger, to like put lawn furniture in instead of having to carry it downstairs or something like that. And as I said, in my 70s. So if we would add on to that, that would give you, you have to conform with what you added on to it to leave the existing spot in place. When we first considered going for the variance for that, actually, David and Kathleen, our neighbors to the east of us, submitted a letter to the building department saying they didn't object to us having a shed, but they thought it would look like we were getting two sheds, and actually we agree with them. So we got rid of the idea of a second building attached to it, and we just stayed to the existing shed where it is and seek relief for pyramid relief for the shed height. We would be building the shed out of wood, it would match the shingles on the house, on the house. The cedar shingles are on the side of the shed. So that's the shed, it's a single shed, not two, and it's the exact size of the shed that was damaged in there before. That's again, many years ago, and that it was there. And prior to that, years and years and years before that, 60 years ago, there was a garage back there, which matched the side, that garage that's next door in size, or close. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Liz, can I just ask you a couple of questions? One is, so because the shed has been gone for too long, they need variances to rebuild it?
You don't know status. I just took the turn down sheet, that's been filed.
Because we also need an updated survey, because the survey we all have has two sheds on it still.
No, I have one. You were given it in your packages.
I didn't get one.
Yeah.
I got only the I only got this. We didn't get that. We have this.
June 26th.
I never got, yeah, we never got that. Well, that was all that was in the packet, was just that. But I mean, if it exists, it exists. That's okay. Doesn't matter if we have it or not. So,
It's just that smaller shed.
right. No. No, as long as they have one.
So where is the proposed shed going to be?
It's actually the southeast corner of the property.
So they're not gonna do this.
Okay.
They're gonna rebuild this.
In the same place it was.
Yes, same
But-
place it was.
But, so if it's just being rebuilt, don't they have the right to do that without?
Yeah, I don't know what was reviewed by the building inspector.
Okay,
I just got the turn down, the copy of the turn down.
okay, so that's a question.
Yeah, that's a question, I don't.
And then the next thing I noticed was that in the description that we have for the public hearing, it says that the proposed rear yard setback for the deck is to be 3.1 feet where 10 feet is required, but that's a side yard, isn't it?
Side yard.
So how does that, that needs to be renoticed to be corrected?
You can correct it, yeah.
It's a side yard here.
But it doesn't.
But not in the notice.
Not in the
And
notice, yeah.
and what we can do is, which we've done before, is renotice it for the next meeting, which there's not a decision being made tonight anyway.
Right.
And have the written decision on the same night. that the
Right,
renotice was.
right.
We can correct it.
I just wanted to
Yeah. of
point
course.
that out. So those were two questions. I don't know how the board feels about the deck. the shed.
I'm happy with the deck.
The deck, okay, okay.
Just because it's logical, they're already that close.
It's
to the
right there
sidewalk.
and
If they can.
it was non-conforming before, so I would not object to the deck.
And it's joining them in a logical way that just makes sense.
I mean, in the deck,
Doesn't have
the
any-
deck that's there has existed for,
Let's see, 39.
right,
39
so,
years.
right, so it's not like it was there
And my daughter is-
just yesterday.
Um,
Right, and the shed has been there for,
The shed was there and was
Right.
destroyed by limbs. And then. so
but how long did
that
the
goes
shed
way
exist?
back to like 30 some years ago.
Okay,
before.
okay.
But it hasn't existed for many years because it got destroyed and didn't get rebuilt.
Right,
And it was a metal shed at the time,
Do you-
okay, when it got destroyed. And so now it's.
So what are you gonna do with the generator? You gonna put it in the shed?
No, but the generator would be right next to where the deck is, and again, if you look on the survey, the
Yes.
generator's there.
Yes.
And then, that's where it would be placed, so it'd be, acknowledging the setbacks off the easterly neighbor property. And again, observe like 3 foot off the deck so they can service it.
great, so,
And then I don't think we needed the variance forward, that's an electrical permit, but just acknowledging that it's on the survey.
so we're gonna find out about the shed. We seem to be okay with the deck. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this? 80 High Street, great, you may step forward, great, thank you. Could you state your name and address for the record?
I'm David Burridge, neighbor, 84 High Street.
Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, thank you, proceed.
Thank you, gentlemen, for all your time. Neighbors for 40 years, yes, Danny's mother was there, shed was there for a little bit. There was actually a trellis shed there for a little while. We've got no objection to rebuilding the shed. I think the only thing as an architect, I have photographs of our property here and what was there previously is that the new shed is asking for an 8 foot high, 8 foot high to the eave and an 11 foot high shed. There's a big great difference between our property and their property. You know, Denny's, sure, you know, maybe we can just lower it down to maybe same eve height as the eve on our shed, or at least try and make some accommodation there. The two buildings talk to each other in a nice manner. So I think everything else we're fine with. And I appreciate them reducing the size of the two sheds. So if you want to look at a couple of pictures, I could come on.
Great, thank you.
With the adjoining.
Ask for variances, because you're allowed to reconstruct a pre-existing non-conforming structure and place it in kind without any variances.
Right,
So
so,
obviously, this is a little bit bigger, maybe they asked for variances for that reason.
But the shed, you know.
because it's taller,
Right,
it's taller, okay. So if the shed goes back down to that lower size, does it then become what it was before, or do we just still need the variances?
I mean, if you're gonna make, you know, we'd have to see exactly.
Right, it's probably,
Onerous for a shed.
right, right.
If it needs variances,
You can always cite them. and-
if it needs variances to be rebuilt, can't it be moved to a conforming location?
Well, that's why I brought this up.
I just
because-
wanted to plant that idea with the applicant.
Right, but thank you very, you could submit your photos to Carrie and then we'll take a look at them. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
That was 35 years ago. And then there was a trellis. About the same height as
The trellis,
we built it up.
the trellis structure was actually, okay. The trellis structure was actually utilized back in the day for keeping we didn't have the tips to the garbage cans.
Great.
And so we used the trellis structure just for the garbage cans to sit in until the next thing. That's what it was for.
This is the ocean.
Well, that was the garage. Okay, so this all sorts of this raises, I guess, a question, because if you're gonna rebuild the shed as it was,
Right.
then you don't need any variances.
Okay.
If you change it in some way, meaning you change the height or the size or something, then you would need variances. And if you do that, then we would probably, as Tim pointed out, when we try to approve the least number of variances, we might want to entertain the idea of moving it to a more conforming location. So it's to your benefit just to rebuild the thing as it was.
Okay.
As exactly as you can. The whole height, footprint, the whole thing, right? I don't, does that conform then with the height of the adjacent structure?
Yeah, I think, it's been so long, ironically, I'd like it not to move from where it is, because it's tucked in the corner.
Yeah,
Right.
it's out of the way.
Right,
So
yes.
If it doesn't, make it a little bit, any size, my size. Fine, so
Yeah, I think I have a left foot one to the top of the ridge right now.
I put the minimal pitch for asphalt.
Okay, so I think,
Isn't there a time limit though on how
Yeah.
long you can go? Are we gonna check that?
I don't know, do we want?
I
do
mean,
we
if
want
this
to-
thing was knocked down 20 years ago, you can still rebuild it forever in time?
It's
without
not still
variance?
there.
Oh, it's not.
No,
No.
there's no trace of it. It's missing. And it was 10 years ago, 20? 20 years ago.
Oh, it's 20 years
was
ago that it
knocked
was
down.
not, oh, okay.
So what is
All
the
right, so
time
then
period
no,
after
no,
which?
it's not 20 years. So it's all variances then. Okay, so how does the board, yes, how does the board feel about the shed?
Can I just clarify? So you're saying because it's been 20 years, he doesn't have an as.
No, yeah,
right-
it's only like 3 years or 1 year or
That's when
something,
you have an
right?
as right.
Yes, it's not 20 years.
It's one score.
Right. So, I don't really have a problem with the shed going back to where it was. I don't know what other people feel.
I don't even, especially since the neighbor seems to be okay with it. I don't agree.
I don't either. His neighbor is accommodating. I have no problem.
Speaking of precedent, so this means that from now on sheds can be right on the property line. They don't need a 10-foot setback.
No, only because this shed was isn't going back to its pre-existing.
Yeah, but I thought that
location.
all ran out. I'm
No,
just
but we
speaking
can
for the
state
next
that as,
attorney that's gonna come before us.
no, but we can use that as a condition in our decision. That it's the reason we're approving this is because there was a shed in this location.
Okay, I'm just
historically.
raising a point.
Correct.
Historically.
That does still create a precedent.
Right.
Well,
Well,
Liz,
the structure, if it were a cabana or a garage or something that makes noise, this is a storage shed, so I think that's a
I know
distinction.
the code doesn't differentiate any of those things. I'm just,
so can we distinguish it by stating that it's being put back in a location that it was historically?
We can say that, we can say that they were support, we can say.
I mean, unless you feel strongly that
Storage
it
shed.
I'm
should
only
be-
one vote, so if you
Right.
guys are all in agreement, I don't have to come on board.
Liz, can she comment? Liz, what do you think of,
Oh, no, I don't do that. That's what
think of what?
well, I'm Tim's comment resident.
I take your point. You're making a good point, and you can distinguish it and.
Now, the only reason I would agree to, if this were a brand new shed, I would say no. But it's not a brand new shed. It's a shed going back on an old.
No,
foot-
From 20
what
years
we're
ago.
doing, though,
Right.
pretty
It was
much
never historic.
nullifies The
Well,
20-year.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, it nullifies the idea that you have to do it in 3 years.
One question I have is, does the shed have to be in an old C of O to have really been there?
I don't know if it was on an old C of O.
I was looking in the documents and there wasn't a
There's no
service C of O, but.
Most COs are by surveys,
Right,
so it would be shown on the
survey,
That would
right.
be-
I don't know, what does everyone else think? I mean, we don't want to set, I don't want to set it, we don't need to set a precedent here.
Yeah. The distinction is that it's a shed.
Right,
not a garage. An accessory structure that makes noise.
He's willing to build it at the same size?
Yes.
I have no objection.
Can I just say though, unless I'm misinterpreting those photographs, it seems like a fairly substantial shed. It could be.
Well, no,
converted.
it was originally a garage that was torn down and then there was a shed put where the garage was. The photo that you saw was not the shed, correct?
The photos you saw, that's my.
Oh, that's your shed.
Garage that was there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the property, it's next door.
So I was looking
Right.
for the shed.
Because the shed in size is only, we're spending too much time on the shed, but the shed in size is only 8 by 8 or something, right?
No, it's very small. I mean, my inclination, just on instinctual level, is of course we should allow him to rebuild the old shed that was there before for a long time. But I do worry a little bit about the precedent because there's a reason why there's a 3-year limit before you that you have an as of right to replace something that was there. 20 years is a big difference from 3 years. And so I just think that if we were to approve this, we're kind of effectively nullifying that idea of 3 years. Now the precedent is 20 years. 20 years is okay. That's potentially problematic. So my advice would be for the board to maybe do a little separate session about this, just because of the precedent setting nature, and just think about this decision before we do it. But I'm only one vote, so. And my instinct-
So, well, let me ask you this, would you entertain putting the shed where you had the proposed shed? And that would basically solve your problem? It will be smaller.
The earlier, we had the double shed,
Oh, yeah, but then,
the newer area was in.
that was for the second shed.
Yes, but now, but
That was a shed in it onto it, but that makes more, that kind of takes up more of the yard, it actually obstructs on your side, right?
Do you want a larger shed?
Excuse me,
Do
sir?
you wish a larger shed?
If it were a little bit larger, yes, but I think that what we have here, you said 8 by 8. Just.
no, I said that.
Is that kind of off the top?
There aren't really clear dimensions
Yeah,
on
the
here.
numbers are here, right? And it's,
Can I make a suggestion?
okay. So it's 11.1 foot tall.
What are my creative suggestions?
8 foot 4 and 3/4.
It's,
He wants to build a shed of the same size. I have no objection.
Pardon me?
8'6" by 9'6".
I have no objections.
Right. So,
We'll get them all in. And it's
Yes.
value not pretty much.
Could we avoid the precedent setting issue, the 3-year versus 20-year, by encouraging the applicant to abandon that site, propose a new site?
well, that's what we were
Well,
getting
I
at.
know, but not that's entirely moved. It's still more or less in the corner, but maybe it's a foot in each way, so it's not technically the same spot. Maybe it's a hair bigger because you want.
Well, but we still have
And-
10-foot setbacks.
No, I understand, but rather than giving him, rather than kind of waiving the 3-year requirement, which is what we'd kind of be doing.
Right.
We would instead be saying, no, you've lost your right to do that as of right, because it's 20 years. But come back and give us a shed that's slightly bigger, because he wants a bigger shed. And only, a couple of feet off the fence, which would be pleasing to the neighbor, pleasing to him to have it tucked in the corner there. And then it's a new decision, and yes, the setbacks that are variances that are required are significant, but we can then cite history, which is that there was a shed there historically, and that way we kind of get around.
Well, I think the history is that he wants to propose the shed where initially.
But you're not.
I understand the 3-year, but I think you're making
I'm
him.
just throwing that out as a possibility.
I think, aren't we really saying it's historically there anyway?
No, because you've lost the right to it because it's been gone for 20 years. So it's almost as though the shed never existed there. So what I would suggest is that you look at relocating the shed to a more conforming location. Perhaps you line the front of the shed, the street side shed up with the frame garage, which then helps the neighbor because you don't project beyond the face of the garage and you move it away from his property line to a more conforming location closer to 10 feet. You can still keep it sort of tucked back in the corner. We would obviously entertain variances, but probably not as great as the variances that are there.
In line with the High Street side of his garage?
Yeah, because
As
then
opposed to the
you
back
sort of don't make it project forward to, to affect the neighbor. It puts you more away from the property line, which makes the board happier. And if you just need that small shed, it's not going to take as much of a footprint as the thing that you had proposed originally.
I have a question. I think it's less visible by the back part of his garage, don't you think?
Yes, but the problem is,
Front side.
yes, the problem is, can you step forward here? Let me just show you.
Yeah, sure.
All I'm saying is put the shed something like this so that these line up.
Yes.
So it's there.
As opposed to
back there, because those variances are great and we are unlikely to get variances to just put the shed a foot something from the property line if we're starting from scratch. I don't know if anybody else in the board.
It's supposed to be 10 feet.
It's supposed to be 10 feet from the property line. So, so what we'll do is we'll adjourn this. You're fine with the deck. Nobody has an issue with the deck. It seems that is the shed, and that the members would like the shed in a more conforming location. So
Right.
so we'll
Do I
adjourn
have to
this.
go 10 and 10, or do I go, you're saying I could go like 5 and 5?
We're not gonna give you, we can't give you numbers, but the chairman already said that we expect that you're gonna be seeking variances still for your side yard setbacks. So you can, I would just kind of split the difference maybe. So
Yeah.
you're still more or less in the corner, but it's not exactly where it was, which helps us.
Put up the size that
But
you
if
would
you
like
did-
us
if
to
you did do 10 and
utilize,
10,
and then we'll make a
If you did do
determination
10 and 10, you
before we
wouldn't
put
need
them
any variances.
Right. Did we do public
But then
comment? I
you
can't
are
remember.
Size that it is.
Okay.
We won't be surprised if you come back asking for variance.
Right, but try to err more towards 10 feet than 1 foot. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to, I'm sorry, I've forgotten where we are, 80 High Street?
No, we already did that. Nobody-
Oh, we did that? Okay, I thought we had
Came
done
over.
it.
Okay.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, my brain has gone.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We're gonna, could I have a motion to adjourn 80 High Street to the January 16th meeting?
Are your dogs happy with the backyard?
I'll
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Alex, okay. Next up is 30 Lighthouse Lane. Sorry for the delay.
Not a problem.
So could you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Matthew Powers, 30 Lighthouse Lane.
Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. So my wife and I moved to the Sag Harbor about 2.5 years ago. We're lucky enough to have a 9-month-old son, and we're here to seek a variance for lot coverage or to build a modest swimming pool to enjoy with our family. So this is a variance on section 300-4, spot 3. And again, it's related to the total lot coverage. And so effectively, we're looking to build a pool that is 12 foot by 24 with all the appropriate setbacks, so no additional variance is required. Currently, there's a 25% total lot coverage that's allowed. The lot, when we bought the property, was at 28.7%, and that's largely a result of the slate patio the prior owner had built. And that runs from the driveway
through to the back sliding doors. The previous owner was wheelchair bound, and so
It's not noticed.
required that to move around the property. With the pool that we're seeking to build, that would bring the lot coverage in total to 31.6%. And so overall, we would like to build a pool and also retain the slate patio. We think it's quite beautiful. It has wonderful drainage, tested this week already with all the garden beds and some additional gravel that was installed as well. And so,
Let me see that, I know.
I'd say the last point just to make is that, this would still be below total backyard coverage for the lot, which is 30% allowable. Currently it's 17.6%, and this would bring it up to about 24.3%. And so it fits within the backyard nicely.
I'm sorry.
Just
No,
one
yep,
final thing to
sure.
say, we've spoken with our neighbors, they're fully in support of this as well. One neighbor had also mentioned his home in New Jersey, they have a pool when they had a kid and said it was the best decision they made, and so he's fully in support of that, so thank you very much.
Great, thank you. I had one question for Liz. The pool equipment appears to be 11.8 feet from the property line.
It has to be 15.
Right, and so it needs to be, it wasn't noticed though. Yeah.
To be granted. Reading in that location.
Side. So the pool equipment is too close to the property line. It's only 11.8 instead of 15. So there's another variance. It would be necessary unless you move the pool equipment around the corner probably of the garage. So it's on the back side of the garage. That might be 15 feet.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I mean, I think the preference would be to try to keep it where it is, just because it's out of view from the yard. And on the property line, on the, I think it's the south side.
Yeah, it looks like it would
it is,
conform.
There's a stockade fence which protects it from the neighbor.
Neighbor, right? It looks like if you did move it around the corner and it lined up with the edge of the garage, it would be in a conforming location. That's the only, it wouldn't need a variance.
We can renotice it for pool equipment.
Unless you decide to move it, in which case we would just need a new survey, not renoticing. Right. So I don't know, do any other board members have any comments or questions?
I have one. You said there was, the existing coverage is 28.7%. Did I hear that correctly? Because I don't see that anywhere in the survey.
Yeah, I think it's probably, if you look at allowable pool coverage, it says 25%.
Right.
3188, that pre-existing.
Oh, okay, so the difference between 3712 and 3188.
I just don't think
Okay.
it's what the percentage.
Okay, thanks.
There's also our rear yard lot coverage, required to 30%.
Yep.
The requirement,
So we're-
we already need that.
Yep.
Yeah, we're at 17,
24.3.
right, 24.3, it was 17, yeah. I mean, it is an increase in lot coverage. It's a fairly spacious feeling property. I don't know what other people feel
The total
about
property size?
the total lot coverage will be 31.6.
It's 12,000.
12,000.
Yeah, the total lot is 12,750 square.
So almost 3/10 of an acre.
Correct.
I don't know, Pam, what do you?
I have no objections. I think that where the pool is placed and the existing plot or ceramic tiles that he has is fine. I have no objection.
Tim, what do you think?
Well, I guess I'd like to see some of the slate come out. Probably wouldn't take too much to get it reduced. So that you wouldn't need a coverage variance,
Slate patio.
right?
Which neighbors Is it Mr. Weber who supports you? That's the closest.
So that property is, I was actually here a few months ago, that
Right,
it's being torn down and rebuilt.
right, correct.
Yeah, so it's Reese, Michael and Judy Reese,
Okay.
that are on the backside of the property.
They're the one.
That's the one that's been before our board on the corner there.
Would
Well,
it be
he's saying that these people
possible
here.
for that neighbor to write letter of support for the pool equipment?
That would be Weber.
Weber. So that would be.
That's Jeff Sharon. And whether by Washington. And that was just in front of us to another one.
Right.
Just a thought to show it conforming, however,
Where's the pool equipment? Oh,
stated
here,
no
Yeah,
objection,
right there.
gives leeway. So, but showed at the conforming distance.
So if I would have, just to repeat it, Mr. Sharon, who now owns this property, 5 Washington. If he were to say he's in support of having the full equipment where it's proposed, even with the approximately 12-foot setback, that would be sufficient to help with the variance.
Well, it would be a step in the right direction.
Right. Yeah. Doesn't mean that it'll happen, but the 15-foot required. So would you recommend, Mr. Chairman, he shows it at the 15 and?
Well.
Could support less if.
I mean, it would ideally, it would swing around the corner of the garage and we wouldn't have a variance for it.
Right.
I think what's part of the problem with the garage is that the back portion of it is it's my office, it's a
Okay.
studio that was pre-built and it has windows right there.
Okay, so,
So-
but that's a mitigating circumstance. So maybe if you get us some photos of that and then
Yeah.
there's a reason the.
Sure.
How many trees are you taking down?
We're taking down 4 oak trees and then I think there's 7 very small pine trees that are gonna come down as well. And then we're gonna replace it with some arborvitae around the side for coverage and then a few other trees, like some dogwoods and other things.
Okay.
Question
I'm
for
sorry.
Liz, is the village settled on the diameter of trees that you need a permit to take down?
Well.
Okay. So you'll need permission to take down a tree that has a diameter greater than 12 inches.
Well, it hasn't been adopted.
Aha,
So
It will be.
existing is 18?
No.
there's nothing
No.
existing.
It's been discussed in public hearing format.
So,
Beyond for adoption.
He's doing it specifically.
They're nice old trees, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Planet is burning.
so, in terms of pool equipment, if there are reasons for its location, maybe a photograph of that back corner, that back wall would help. Because that may be the best location for it, but then I would get a letter from your neighbor. State, because they're gonna be the ones who are mostly affected by it, that they have no problem with it, and that we can then surround it maybe with some sort of solid fencing to mitigate the noise for that. You might explore, since we have to renotice this for that, you might explore perhaps some of the patio that's between the house and the garage in that area could be removed. I know you probably want it coming out the back of the house for use, but maybe in that area that's between the buildings, that's sort of in the rear yard.
There's also a section on the left side of the survey.
Yeah.
It's a pink property where that side is slate.
Right.
As well, so I'm happy to remove that.
So I think that to Member McGuire's comments, that anything that you could remove that would reduce that, because then if we get our lot coverage down closer to 25, it would be much
Yeah.
advantageous.
So I'm happy to remove that. I think it may be challenging with the other walkway. That's where we use the stroller. And because we have front stairs that it's hard to carry that up, particularly for my wife. And so I'm happy to remove the slate on the left side. Which shouldn't be a problem.
There may be also ways that some of it can be removed to introduce planting beds? Because I know that I've had clients do that before where within the slate, sections are removed that creates planting because that's not coverage. So anything that you can think of along those lines, perhaps to reduce the coverage, that would be helpful too. Anything else? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to where are we? 30 Lighthouse Lane? No? Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe just one question is like, if the only issue right now, I mean, it sounds like the proposed porch, if that were to swing around the corner, and I agree to that today, would there be an issue with getting the variance approved for coverage, or will this, the other things we discussed still be required?
I don't know, for me, it's a little high on the coverage side, just in terms of the, I don't know what other board members feel.
Yeah.
Ham is fine with it.
I'm fine with it.
I don't know, how do Alex and Dale feel?
We've also taken out about 100 square feet of coverage already, where we replaced a ramp up the stairs, and so that's one thing that we've done practically.
Related for me? So I'm sorry, this is if he reduces the lot. coverage?
No, this is just a question he has, that he agrees to move the pool equipment so that no variance is required. We don't renotice and we just go with the variances as requested at, which is just a lot coverage variance of 30 to 31.6, where 25 is permitted.
The question is what?
Is whether or not we would approve.
You
that.
approve
Would you
tonight.
approve it tonight? Having him move the pool equipment so no variance is required, and all the only variance is a 31.6 lot coverage where 25% is permitted.
I don't think so, only because I think there's been discussion of possibly trying to reduce the lot coverage a little bit to get closer to 25, if not to 25. So I'd like to see those things happen first before, unless we conditioned the approval on.
Well, we don't know
specific
what,
requirements.
well, yeah, but we
We
don't
don't
really
have
know.
the survey or
No.
anything like that, so I would say we should adjourn.
Okay, Val, what is your feeling?
How do
Be a
you,
step in the right direction.
as the applicant, how do you use this walkway, which we're suggesting that we,
The one between the garage and the deck.
no, I'm next to the lot line.
The one on the left side,
Yes.
we don't use it. It's largely, I mean, it's very narrow and that's where the air conditioning unit is.
Right.
So it's just a pass through.
I think then it would satisfy the board and better the infraction. And if possible, that would be great.
Sure.
Could you actually step forward a second, because the area that I would, because you were referring to the walk doesn't actually count as lot coverage. I was talking about this area right here.
Oh, I see.
Because if you took out that chunk and maybe this chunk, that would be quite significant and would still give you this whole area.
Okay.
This portion is where it was pointing to.
Yeah, so it's this portion that's slate. This is already gravel.
This is slate, that would go
Yeah.
away, and maybe that could go away. You could keep the walks don't count towards lot coverage at all.
Sure. Yeah, so.
You could even have a walk that goes, that connects these things. If
Yeah.
it's not a patio,
Okay.
it's a walk.
Okay.
So you might explore that, because that would eliminate that chunk of lot coverage.
Okay.
So with that, I think that we'll adjourn then. Okay,
So we're gonna read.
nothing else. We'll renotice and we will adjourn. Yes. So could I have a motion to adjourn 30 Lighthouse Lane to the January 16th meeting?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you. Now we're on to decisions.
Rock strikes, isn't it? Oh, you're coming up to the podium tonight.
No, I don't know.
Special.
That's right. Yeah.
Can you speak up a little bit louder, Liz?
Thank you very much.
So the first decision is for 226 Main Street. This is to construct a new schoolhouse and patio. And require variances under sections 300-4.3 and 300-9.184. To allow the front yard setback for the pool house to be 10.3 feet or 35 feet required. To allow the construction of the pool house in the front yard where accessory structures are prohibited. And to allow the proposed rear yard lot coverage to be 41.85% reduced from the existing 43.46% where 30% is permitted. And since it was reduced, it's arguable whether that variance is required. And for the reasons set forth in the written determination, the board finds that the application meets the 5-part test and hereby determines to grant the variances.
Could I have a motion to approve the decision for 226 Main Street as written?
Make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great.
The next one is 212 Madison Street. This is to construct first floor additions and a second floor dormer additions to the existing residence. It required numerous variances under section 300-12.6B1A, 300-4.3, and 300-9B. Let's see. Subject property is in the R20 zoning district. It's only a 4,149 square foot lot. And it's only 42 feet wide, where 100 feet is required and 20,000 square feet of lot area is required. Therefore, the lot is pre-existing non-conforming, and the variance is required for conditions. The board went through the 5-part test and finds that the application meets the standards for granting variances as set forth in the written determination. Due to the pre-existing location of the existing house on this pre-existing non-conforming lot.
Great, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the decision as written for 212 Madison Street?
Make a motion.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Application is for 207 Main Avenue. This is to construct 2 one-story additions and 1 second-story dormer addition and a porch to the existing single-family residence on site. It's a pre-existing non-conforming structure and variance required from sections Village Code sections 300-4.3, 300-12.6B, and 300-9.3D of the Sag Harbor Village Code to allow various different relief from those sections. The property is 7,659 square feet, with 20,000 square feet required. And the lot is 80 feet wide on the northeast side of the property, diminishing to only 20 feet wide at the southwest side, fronting on Germain Avenue. Where R20 requires 100 feet in width. So the lot is non-conforming with respect to lot area and lot width. And it's also triangular in shape. And
Where's the cell phone number? I lost it.
frontage on 2 front yards.
I don't know what
Yards on
happened, it
Germain
just
Avenue.
disappeared
And
in contacts.
also it is the existing house, placement on the lot is pre-existing non-conforming, therefore the board finds that the application meets the 5-part test as set forth in the written determination.
Great, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the decision as written for 207 Germain Avenue?
So move.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
The last application for decision is 59 Glover Street. This is an application to construct accessory structures, including pool equipment, and pool patio in the front yard. Variance is being granted from section 300-9.4. The subject property is a waterfront lot. It's located on Sag Harbor Cove. And for the reasons set forth in the written determination, the board has decided that the application meets the 5-part test and determines to grant the variances.
Great, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the decision as written for 59 Glover Street?
So move.
Second,
Alex, second.
all in favor?
Aye. Is that it?
So could I have a motion to close the meeting, our December 19th meeting of the zoning board?
Move it.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.